27th, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're going to be covering on today's episode of the show, and we have a lot lined up for you. So, to start off, we've got a company that scrapes identifiable personal data from social media websites and then sells it to law enforcement agencies, and it's in hot water after their client list was hacked. We have the details, and with more information being released about the upcoming Xbox Series X gaming console, we'll dive into what the specs could mean for the future of gameplay with our own Lisa Marie Segarra. And we'll also have the Digital Trends Live debut of Nick Woodard. We'll be talking about the new Ultimate Ears Boom Bluetooth speaker and comparing it to the current offering from Sonos. Plus, we have some great robot coverage today, including an interview with Buck Jordan of Miso Robotics to discuss how they believe inserting advanced intelligent robots into the restaurant industry will provide better experiences and faster food delivery. Robot burgers. All of this and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. We're live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. All while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you are, you can join in the conversations that we get to have, and we have a lot of them. So let's have some fun. I'm Greg Nibbler, here with Mr. Dan Gall. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Greg.
How's it going?
It's going wonderful. How are you?
Doing good. You did get me to laugh at the beginning, so your challenge was met, and I failed.
I really wanted you to mess up, but you handled some of those tongue twisters so well.
I powered through it. I powered through. That's what we do here. Let's talk about this. We've got some news, and we got some things that I want to get your opinions on, and that's why it's always so much fun with this show. The first one, though, we have to talk about was something that kind of broke yesterday, and it has to do with Clearview AI and a hack that they encountered. So if you don't know what Clearview AI is, they're essentially this company that kind of came out of nowhere, and what they've been doing is scraping, well, all of our personal data off of social media websites, publicly available, but still pretty questionable. So they've been gathering all of this and compiling basically profiles of everybody they can possibly get off of these things, and then they've taken that. Yeah. Anything, and your face, with your face, to where they could actually take a picture of your face, or they could just get a really brief snippet and be able to, through their facial recognition software, be able to identify who you are based on all of that public data. Now, what they've been doing with that then is selling it to law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and
hey,
some private individuals.
And that's even scarier.
Yes.
So
who are those people?
Yeah, this has just been out there for people to just use and subscribe to. And now there was a hack where allegedly their client list was actually stolen.
Yep.
So the list of people who are actually buying the service was stolen.
And I think that's the fear is if they get hacked. And I mean, the client list is one thing, but it's more about what happens if the data gets stolen. Someone could be like, oh, we want to see where Greg Nibbler is right now.
Yep.
And because we want to rob him or do something sinister.
Right.
It's scary. I mean, this is the type of stuff is like what is in movies.
Yeah, and there was a big New York Times article about this. Kind of they investigated it. We actually interviewed the reporter here on the show, and they were just talking about how technically there's no law that was really broken with this because there's no law in place.
All publicly available.
All publicly available data.
We don't have privacy anymore. I mean, that's the thing. You give it up when you join sites like Facebook or use hardware and et cetera. So.
And at this point, I mean, there's, with that, some of that stuff that's already out there too. I mean, if it's on a Facebook or Twitter, and all this is information that they were able to scrape off, and now even the social media websites have said, a couple of them have come out and said, well, we ban this, we don't want you doing this, but it's too late. I mean, it's already there.
I think it's like pretty scary as an individual. Mm-hmm. One, I think eventually there's going to be regulations, kind of like the GDPR and CCPA type stuff, your privacy. Yeah. But imagine if it's like used for political purposes or anything like that, where it's over a span of time, right? Like there's no kind of having secrets. It's, again, going back to movies, no more secrets.
Right.
But it's totally conspiracy type stuff, right? Like
but
that's what's dangerous about it is there's a private company who's collecting all this information and you don't really know how it's being used or why,
Yeah, and that's one of those things. I mean, they partner with a lot of law enforcement agencies, and we haven't seen what the client list is. We just know from what's been reported from either people self-reporting, I believe it's the New York Police Department is one of the subscribers to this service, and in some aspects, I suppose you can see where this could be valuable, but I mean, really, the privacy issue here is just so unnerving when it comes down to it. And we also don't know, maybe there's other companies out there doing this, because like I said, the information is there. And now you've got some different, like I said, some different websites saying that Google, YouTube, and Twitter have sent cease and desist letters to them. Facebook's reviewing their practices, but regardless, the information's out there.
It's out there. It's going to be used. Law enforcement, I think, is probably, most keen on this type of stuff. So, I mean, there's always that, like, if you're not doing anything bad, you have nothing to hide. But it's really, you never know when something nefarious is going to be done.
Yeah.
And also, why can't I be somebody that's just an individual that nobody really knows about unless I want them to know things about me? Like, I don't want people knowing like where I go for lunch every day and tracking me.
Yep. That's some of the stuff that they can do with this too. Yeah. There was actually, and this is just a total aside, and I know we need to get down to our next topic because there's a lot, but there's just a report that came out that in Maryland, apparently the police agencies there have been scanning faces constantly, and so they've got this whole database of things going on. This is just a breaking story.
You'd be surprised.
But it's a whole other one.
There's so much technology. We think the police are behind, but when they have like microphones set up on corners and they can pinpoint where gunshots are happening and automatically start video to try to get video evidence around that. I mean, they're pretty sophisticated, and they're using companies just like this.
Yeah, just like this. This is the one we know about.
Yep.
That's out there. So anyway, that's kind of the breaking news from yesterday. So we don't know what the fallout's going to be from that, but that's where it's at. And I think the other worry is if they can hack into that, why can't they hack into something else? Because how good is their security?
So that information is scary.
Yeah.
Yep.
So read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on, though, since we do have some other things to talk about, let's talk about some leaks. It is leaking season when it comes to tech companies because a lot of them are getting ready for big announcements, and usually something will sneak out ahead of time. And this one has to do with the Microsoft Duo, which is already announced, and we know that it's coming sometime. We don't have an exact timeline.
A lot of excitement around it, too.
A lot of excitement. And we've seen some different images that have come out in the wild where it's clearly people who are testing it, on the subway or something like that. And this is another one. This is an actual video that came out on Twitter. So again, this isn't from Microsoft, but it's showcasing just one of the more features. And this is the dual screen where you'd be able to actually crack it open just a little bit and check some of your messages on the side without having to do the full open of the full book open of the device. What do you think about the Surface Duo?
So the Duo, I think, is going to, again, I think these dual screen devices are going to find a purpose. They're a novelty at first. I'm excited about the technology more and where it'll take us, not necessarily these first generations, but my first thought when I saw this particular story, it's like they're thinking it's going to be called Peek. Yeah. Where like if someone's calling, you can kind of peek it open and see who it is, or you can peek and look at notifications and dismiss them. But I'm like, why? Like, how lazy do you have to be to like fully open it? Maybe I'm missing something. Like maybe if you fully open, it has to unlock all the way, or I don't know what. But
yeah, it does seem like it's kind of pointless because if you're already opening it that much, then.
It seems like a novelty.
Unless you're trying to sneak it and like look under,
Maybe. But what works great for me is my watch, right? So like you have a smartwatch, it's much easier for me to peek at my watch than actually pull out. I mean, these are big devices.
Yeah.
They're not small, so like you got to pull it out already.
Yeah, so you're already that far along.
Yeah, like why not just do that extra few calories to open it?
You don't have time to open it all the way.
I want to understand the purpose, honestly.
Yeah. I think, if that's, and again, this is based off a leak, and we think it's called Peek, but I would think that a better option for that would just be a little screen on the front, where you pull it up and you can just kind of...
More screens
to solve the screen problem. That's where I think that would be better. But, again, we'll have to see once this fully comes out, everything that's going to be able to do. I do like some of the software sides of things that they're showcasing with it. I think that's pretty cool. They're also not trying to do the seamless screen. They're just like, we're not going to mess with that.
Yeah.
You have two screens.
Yeah.
Two separate
There's a
screens.
hinge. Yeah. So, it's probably like less risk, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. It's probably a smart move on their part. But that's what we have on that. And we've got some more details, of course, of the Duo. I mean, it is coming out. There's some rumors I saw. One thing with that, there was a date on there that said like June. I'll have to double check. June 18th.
Yeah.
Of 2020.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, is that the date? That's
At like
gonna come out?
6:59 a.m.
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of doubt all that's gonna add up to where that's what it is.
Well, they were saying
never
like
know.
the announcement is supposed to be kind of mid-year or around that time. So a lot
Yeah.
of people were hoping that that's like they just leaked the date somehow. But
Yeah, just put it out there. But
there's somebody over there going, "Ha ha, we got him."
gotcha. So that's what we know about that. So that's just another image that came out. I'm sure we'll see more and more of that as we get close to whenever it does come out. And just like all these tech companies, we're seeing a bunch of Apple stuff. We're seeing everybody's new devices kind of slowly leak out, and little rumors here and there. But it's exciting because there's a lot that's coming up. So you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Let's continue on here and talk about some other trending stories, some that are on the site. This one has to do with Japan and their use of drones. And I think it's kind of a symptom of what we're going to be seeing more in our lives, just out in the workforce. And this is them using drones for, in particular, their subways. To actually use these drones, they've got cages on them, which I think is a smart idea. And they, instead of sending somebody up to inspect all of these lines or look for leaks in the subways and all the scaffolding, they're just flying a drone up there and be like, wow, this is way easier.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think this is so cool. Of course, Japan is gonna like kind of lead this kind of cool sci-fi. Again, it just reminds me of movies in a sense. This also in my head when I saw this, I was like, when is the little scanning technology gonna happen that you see in all the movies where you just need somebody to look at, oh, there's the thing it alerted on because it did this 3D scan.
Yeah,
right?
it's got the red lasers that go. bzzz.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's
Yep.
the sound they make too. Yeah, this is.
You gotta have that. You gotta have like the little siren warning.
Yeah.
Scan about to commence.
Comply. But this is what they're doing. So they said that, with, let's see, Tokyo Metro's subway lines cover 121 miles, and 85% of it is through tunnels, and it's a lot of labor to inspect all of that. And they've got these so lined up. I mean, just that demonstration there, like going into all these little areas, instantly see if there's a problem, back it on out, and it's all from somebody controlling it down below.
And they were saying basically a lot of this can be done visually.
Yeah.
But there's certain areas, or when they see there might be a problem, they want to pull the drone out and be able to do a better inspection without the time constraint of putting up scaffolding and having somebody climb up there and then tear it down, and it's affecting the train service and all that.
Right, yeah, because you got to shut down the service. Yeah, that just saves so much time. And I think that's kind of a sign of we're going to see more and more of that, of that kind of use of drones.
Yeah.
I think so.
No red tape. Come on.
Yeah. Fly the drone. So that's going on in Tokyo. We've got more information about that at digitaltrends.com, so you can take a look there and follow up on it. But it's exciting to see what some of the different use cases are of these things. And I like the cage idea. That'd be good for me personally because I've maybe crashed a couple of drones before, and the cage would be a nice safety net for me.
It would be, right?
It's like a bumper lane for
I
bowlers.
think it'd be good for a lot of people.
Yeah, it would be for me.
Does it instill confidence? I don't know.
I'd probably just get more reckless.
As someone watching it, I'd be like, that guy's totally going to crash. And he doesn't care.
That guy shouldn't be flying that drone.
It's a safety thing, too. Like, you don't have to worry about any blades hitting somebody or something, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, you can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. All right, the final topic here we have, and then we'll have our product of the day, too, for You Need This. This has to do with a robot that we've discussed here on the show before, but it's from a company called Promobot, and our own John Velasco went to the New York Toy Fair where they're debuting and showcasing their Arnold Schwarzenegger robot. Yes, an Arnold Schwarzenegger robot. That is what we're talking about here. So that's Nightmare that you're looking at right there.
Oh, he looks so willing to help.
Help me. So this is fully mobile, and it will actually not mobile, but it's motorized, so it'll move. The mouth will move. It has a voice. It has a camera in it, so it can recognize
Facial expressions.
Yeah, so read what you're saying and what you're doing. And the whole goal of Promobot, and we've showcased some videos of theirs before, where they actually offer a service where you can have yourself scanned or someone scanned and turn them into a robot. So you can do that.
A little expensive.
Yeah.
To do that. But
yeah, a little expensive. So there is that, and then they're saying that these things.
This is a great one.
So that's one of the company founders that put himself into this robot. But why is it so angry?
Yeah.
So angry.
Don't ask me a question again.
Crush humans. That's his that he created. Like it's
So distracting.
It is so distracting. To get these, though, you have to spend between $25,000 to $50,000 to customize it. And Arnold's just kind of their example that they're using, but they think that these could be used for like tour services or have it like
Libraries. Angry librarian.
pick a book.
And museums.
I don't know about that.
It's really creepy.
It's
I don't
really
know.
creepy.
I love the intent.
Yeah.
Or the effort on it.
Right.
And it gives us great fodder.
It does.
Yeah.
But that is what they're utilizing that for. So you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. It is now time for the product of the day.
Yay!
Hey, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right, so our product here for today is the Logitech C920S HD Pro webcam. So how many times have you been in a meeting and you're like having a Skype meeting or having a Zoom meeting, because we all do that now, and you're talking to somebody on the other end and their camera sucks? I mean, let's be honest. It's been bad. It's like, okay, come on, Tim. Can you just adjust the camera, like do something better? Why is it so dirty? This is a solution to that and so much more. So this is the full HD 1080p. This can help you make these video calls, anything that you want to do. You can actually record with these as well. So it's great for that if you're making some quick YouTube recordings. These things work well. This thing is pretty much plug and play. I actually have one of the earlier versions of this. Real simple to use. You can clip it onto your computer like that, you know, take over the webcam. It's got actually a spot here for a tripod, so you can put it on any kind of tripod that you want. It's razor sharp, it's high def, it's got stereo audio with dual mics, so technically you can use this for a mic. You can always use something else on top of that, but this one actually records it pretty good. As far as the sound quality, it's compatible with Skype, Google Hangouts, FaceTime for Mac, so pretty much any kind of service that you'd want to use. It's got a 5-foot cable, so that's important, so you can plug it in and set it up if you want to actually team these up with a couple of them and utilize that. And on top of that, it also comes with this. It's got the secure cam here, the secure clip, the privacy shutter, if you will. You can clip on there because, I mean, if you're like me and you're paranoid about people spying on you all the time, you need something like this. And it's really easy. There it is. Clip. There it is. You know, if you ever saw my laptop before, I used to have a Band-Aid on it, so I'm just going to admit that. So this comes with it. You don't have to buy one. And that is what's kind of great about this. So again, this is the C920S Pro HD webcam. It's on sale right now for $67.99. So click the button, get it. Be the person with the nice camera that you can have nice video calls and talk to everybody with. That is what you want to use for it. So again, C920S Pro HD webcam. Pick it up now. All right. So there we go. That is your product of the day. And we need to get on to our next segment because we have Lisa Marie Segarra, who's in our New York studio, to stand by to talk about the Xbox Project Series X. If I have that right, she's the expert. She'll talk to us about it, but it's the new console from them. But before we do that, Dan Gall, thank you.
Thank you.
Always fun.
I always want to laugh.
And we got some drones and robots in there.
I miss crying, though.
I know. Well, next time, maybe we'll cry. It could be a very tearjerker of a moment the next time Dan's on here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, though. This is Digital Trends Live, so we have a lot left to talk about. Like I said, gaming's coming up next, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate everybody who tunes in here every day. Hit that subscribe button to talk about the different kinds of conversations that we get to have here and join in with them. And I'm going to say this, I am not a gaming expert, and I made very, very quick evidence of that during the last segment when I messed up the name of the new Xbox. But we're going to fix that right now because we have Lisa Marie Segarra in our New York studio to talk about this. She is our expert. She is who's going to tell you what's going on. So, Lisa Marie, what do you want to start off with here? You want to talk about the Xbox Series X?
Yeah, well, first I'm going to start off by saying Xbox Project X Series
I don't know.
X.
I know.
Well, it was called Project Scarlet when it was announced at E3 this past summer or spring, so I get where the project came from, but it is the Xbox Series X that's coming out, and we do have some more spec details, which is really exciting.
So, talking about this, yeah, let's go ahead and go through them. Let's talk about what some of these details are. I'm going to stop talking and listen to you.
So there are a few really key things that we got more info on. One is that there will be 12 teraflops. You've got ray tracing, variable rate shading, and this new thing called smart delivery. So to break it down, the biggest thing that people are really excited for is the 12 teraflops. And basically that's just a fancy way of talking about the computing performance. So to put that in perspective, the Xbox Series One X, or now I'm messing up, Xbox One X has 6 teraflops, so that's double. And obviously the Xbox One X is the upgraded model of the Xbox One. So it's not even just better than the last generation, it's better than the upgraded version of the last generation. And it's about 3 times as many teraflops as the PS4 Pro, obviously another upgraded version of the last generation. So that's really exciting. And especially for the PC master race out there, Xbox is kind of coming for you. So there are very few PCs that can go up to 12 teraflops or have that capability, and the ones that are out there are crazy expensive. You're looking at $1,000 easily just for that, performance. And obviously, we do not expect the Series X to be $1,000 or anywhere close. So this is really exciting, and it's really a new world for gaming, especially because the performance of PCs isn't increasing the way it used to. One of our other editors, Matt Smith, wrote about this and how, these consoles are really starting to catch up to PCs in a way that we've never seen before. We have seen a new generation of consoles beat out PCs or match it, but usually the PCs catch up, they get cheaper for the same amount of power. I don't think that we'll be seeing the same type of performance soon, though.
That's pretty
But there
interesting.
are other details.
Yeah,
It's really exciting.
Talking about that, because I know that PC versus console thing is huge, and I'm not a PC gamer, I'm a console gamer, but there's always just kind of that air, kind of what you were talking about. For the PC players, it's like no matter what comes out of the console, it's like, well, the PC's better because I can upgrade it all the time. So do you foresee a time where PC gaming actually just kind of goes by the wayside and this console gaming of Xbox, or whether that goes to cloud gaming, overtakes that as a whole?
I think that there are two things going on. I think there will always be PC gaming, but the PC master race, that idea of it being elevated, might dwindle. So I think that there's going to be more competition, and consoles are going to be able to compete a lot better with PCs. That said, there will always be a group of gamers that loves PCs, especially because it's just more customizable. The mapping on your keyboard and mouse are really undeniable. You can have that multiple screen setup. That's for a certain type of gamer, and that type of gamer is also always going to be willing to pay a premium to get a premium experience. But console players who don't have the means to pay that much, or just aren't as invested and don't want to, will now be able to get an even better experience without having to do all of that work or spend that much money.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely pretty fascinating to see where it's going. Something else I want to ask about too, and just get your opinion on, and maybe a little bit more in-depth explanation, is ray tracing and how big of a factor that's going to be, and then what's variable ray tracing? I guess that's my other question.
Yeah, so, okay. Ray tracing is also another thing that we're mostly seeing right now in really high-end gaming PCs. And what that basically does is it makes for better hues and shadows, so you're really going to get a much better visual experience. So if you're the type of player that really loves taking a moment to look at, you know, the landscape in an Assassin's Creed game or something like that, this is something that you're going to be into, and it's just really, it makes those games much more beautiful, and especially if you have the type of television or monitor that can support that, it's going to be really amazing to look at. And again, this is another thing that we're only seeing in very high-end gaming PCs, not even mid-level or entry-level ones. Variable rate tracing, I know this sounds very jargony, but basically it's really simple. You just have more efficient running, but it does so without sacrificing your resolution and frame rate, and that's basically, it still looks good and it runs well. So
Nice.
that's also just really exciting. Yeah, so the Xbox is really proving to be a powerhouse. Those are the three biggest things spec-wise, but they also announced this thing called Smart Delivery. So obviously when the new generation comes out, there's always a worry of, should I get this game right now? Should I wait? Especially if you don't want to upgrade your console right away. Basically what they announced is with Smart Delivery, there are certain games that you can get on the Xbox One or One X right now. And when you eventually upgrade, if you choose to get a Series X, you will automatically get that free upgraded game. So they've already announced this for Cyberpunk 2077, and they also said all of their, you know, first-party studio games like Halo Infinite will automatically be included, and any other studio or developer can do this as well, just like, you know, CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077. So it's available to them, so that'll be really exciting. It's a great way to just get consumers on board and excited and really alleviate fears of pressuring them into getting something right now. And I think it also shows, you know, Microsoft really learned from its mistakes with the Xbox One. They had a lot of pushback against, you know, you have to be online, your games are going to be tied to you always, and really reducing the availability of, you know, trading in games and getting new ones. And now they are very focused on righting that wrong and stepping it up. So that's really exciting. It's always great to see when gamers win and can just play the games that they want in the best way possible.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, they've made a lot of exciting announcements. We'll have to see what happens with PS5. Haven't really heard a whole lot there. But I know we're starting to run low on time, and I know we need to talk about something else too. And that is what I have seen trending all over the place, which is Stardew Valley. Tell us about Stardew Valley.
Yeah, so this is really fun. It's basically a like an RPG game, and you run a farm. And it just had its anniversary yesterday, which is really great. And I think that this is just such a win for indie games. It was made by this one developer who is a college student, and he really just wanted to perfect this game. It takes a lot of inspiration from Harvest Moon, and his opinion in the decline of that series was what pushed him to make this game, but it also takes from other similar games like Animal Crossing, Terraria, and Minecraft in their building and crafting modes and things like that, you know, cultivating your own community and forming relationships with people in the community. And it's funny because as this anniversary was coming up in the last couple weeks, I kept thinking about this game, and people have talked so much about it. People love this game. Like I said, one guy made it, and it sold like 10 million copies this year, which is wild. And it's really exciting. So I said, finally, I'll try it out. It's only $15 on the eShop. Whatever, let me do it. And I fell in love with it immediately. It's really amazing, too, because it came out a few years ago now, but it's really holds up well. It's a great game, and it's also, like I said, I can't emphasize this enough, one guy made this just because he was inspired. And it's really brought in a new era for indie gaming, especially on the Switch. It's obviously not just on the Switch. It's on PS4, it's on Xbox One, it's even on Vita for some reason. You can even play it on iOS, Android, Mac, and PC. So it's really everywhere, very accessible. And we've seen a lot of indie games, you know, coming up and getting more and more attention, and Nintendo's been highlighting that even more. And I think this is one of those games that when we look back, we will see as ushering in that era for, you know, a golden age for indie gaming. But overall, it's just a really fun game. It's very relaxed and fun, and if you're into something like that, and if you are like me and want something to hold you over before Animal Crossing finally comes out, it's really great to check out. So it's really exciting. It just had its 4th anniversary yesterday.
All right, now you're convincing me. Well, $15, I mean, certainly for that. But one guy created this whole thing. I mean, that is an empire. That's amazing. Well, Lisa Marie, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry I threw you off at the beginning. I promise I will get the Xbox right next time. But we appreciate you being here. And as always, I'll talk to you next week with some more gaming news.
All good. Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
All right, so that is Lisa Marie Segarra. Follow up on everything that we were just talking about at digitaltrends.com. She is our expert, and that's why we have her to handle all of that. All right, we've got coming up next, though, I need to get to a break because we've got Akif Akin, who's going to be joining us to talk about their platform. And it's really, really interesting, utilizing facial recognition software and all kinds of different AI to help basically law enforcement. So we're going to discuss that. That's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nebler, and thank you very much for joining us wherever you're watching. We do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, and we like to keep you up to date on cutting-edge technology, and certainly something we discuss a lot is artificial intelligence, facial recognition, different ways that that kind of software can be incorporated into our lives and how it's being utilized. And the smart city is one of those applications. And we're going to discuss that and so much more because we have an expert here joining us right now. We have Akif Akin, who is the president of Akin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Excited to talk about this. I think this is a very interesting platform, interesting utilization, and how we're seeing our lives change through the use of software and basically mass data. And I want to talk to you just to get a kind of a base level to explain what Akin is and what your company is doing, and then we'll talk about some of these specific products.
Okay. Akin is working for more than 20 years on safe city solutions, and now in the last few years we have changed to smart city solutions. So we are using AI to make our city safer and smarter. That's actually basically what we're doing.
And so talking about it from that standpoint and using AI to make our cities safer and smarter, can you give some examples of what maybe is being utilized now, what somebody would see normally out there, and then where we're going with that? So maybe an example like a traffic light or something like that?
Okay, traffic light is a good example. So imagine a traffic light today. The traffic light today is used only to show green, orange, or red lights. So with our technology, it will be sensing the traffic, the length of the cars waiting for the red light to turn to green. So if you have our systems in your city, we can control the traffic light in a very smart way. It means you only need to have to wait as long as other cars need to pass by. So it's a much more efficient way to control the traffic. And along with that, it gives you much more data about the vehicles which are passing, the vehicle sizes, classes. We can differ if it's a truck, a bike, or a classical car. And the city can use all this data to make traffic planning much more efficient and on time, and very fast and accurate data, actually.
Certainly something I think we could all agree with, that better, more efficient traffic is great for all of us. Nobody likes being stuck at lights. So certainly a good example there of just kind of a base level of using artificial intelligence to try to do that. Now I know in particular for your company, and I want to start talking about this, some of your other solutions, that you are working with police departments and law enforcement for different kinds of technology that you can employ. Can you talk about what those are?
So actually, it's everything what we sense on the road. One, as I described before, is for making the traffic smarter. The other one is to make the traffic safer. So we are following the vehicle which are in sight, and if one vehicle is overspeeding in a, let's say, dangerous area, school zone area, or in any place where it's important, we can automatically trigger and get a video and picture of the cars who are overspeeding. We do have evidence of cars who are crossing red lights. So actually, these technology is used in many cities to avoid accidents and to save lives. So that's one of the feature. The other thing is we can use it to count people and to identify if it's a male or female, alongside with age estimation. That means you can generate any kind of statistical data to know who's walking in your city, at what time, which area, to serve them better in a better way, actually.
And talking about some of these specific things that you have here for your smart city solutions, and I'm taking a look at some of them. We've got the Ekin Bike Control, and then the Ekin Intelligent Police Assistance. So I guess that's kind of how they fall. Can you discuss those in general and what those actually are utilized for?
So actually, these are our mobile products. Mobile products means you can use our Ekin products. You can install them on your vehicle. It can be it can be used to replace your light bar if it's a police car, or you can install it in a police bike. And once these mobile systems are in operations, they're scanning all the plates in the area, so you can use them for parking management. So you would know which car is parking where. If you talk about the mobile patrol system, the patrol system is a one fully integrated AI system installed and designed into a light bar. And this light bar senses 360 degrees. It can read all the plates. It can read all the cars, and it can give an alert if somebody's overspeeding, if somebody's driving over red light, or if any car is dangerously approaching to the police, for example. So it's also serving the police to have much faster, much more accurate data in a very short time. So if, for example, if they stop a car, they will immediately know who's the holder of the car related to the license plate within a smaller time or faster than 1 second.
And so this would all be in real time that it's able to do that. Is that through cloud computing, or, how is that actually happening so quickly?
It depends on the agency. So it can be cloud, or the software can be installed. The central software can be installed in the agency. It just depends on the customer or the law enforcement's requirements. So both is possible and supported. But as you said, it's real time. So it happens just in a few milliseconds.
And looking at it right now, as far as these kinds of systems, we're talking about how it can read cars, it can read license plates. Does this use facial recognition software as well?
Yes, we do have facial recognition. So in areas where the law is allowing facial recognition, or once there's a big threat, facial recognition can be activated. So then alongside with the plates, police can get a verification with face recognition of the person which is in front of the police vehicle is a wanted person or not. And again, this happens with less than 1 second.
Okay, and like you said, there's places where that's legal, where that's part of what they're doing. Looking at this going forward, where do you see this kind of technology being utilized? Like, say, take an example of a city 5 years from now. I mean, clearly we'll have things for the traffic control that could be in there. This recognition software. Like, how widespread would this be, and what would a city look like 5 years from now?
So I think, we have a product, we call it Ekin Spotter. It's a city furniture. So I believe that let's say in 5 years, we'll have many smart poles in the city. And it's part of our philosophy and design. So we're designing all the products. These products are very slim. It's the slimmest product in the market. So if you think of a pole which is smart, which can identify license plates or count vehicles, it has only diameter about 9 inches, which is very small. And this utility is a smart city enabler. So it means you cannot use it only for face recognition, for surveillance, or for car counting, people identification. You can use it as a smart city tool. So it measures the air quality. It measures the traffic density. It can tell you, for example, if somebody has a seatbelt on or not. It can tell you if somebody is wearing a helmet or not. So you have many features which you can use in a city. And I think the features for enforcement will be covering only 1 to 2%. 98% will be used as a smart city enabler, as a host for IoT products. Air quality is very important. Sound quality, it means high sound, high noises, any dangerous sounds will be very important. So we are delivering a smart city enabler for the city. So I believe that the numbers of systems in a city will be increasing, and they will be serving for, let's say, for a better traffic flow, for a better Wi-Fi coverage or similar things, or for charging your e-car. So you can use the same pole for many, many other things. And one of the most important thing is it's going to be part of the city design. So it's not another, it's one design having all. So it means it shall look good in your city.
So it'll all be kind of incorporated in something that we're used to. Well, it's a fascinating thing, seeing where this is all going and this utilization of it and what your company's doing. For everybody who wants to learn more, I just want to make sure that I'm sending them to the right place. What would be the best website for me to send them to?
Yes, it's ekin.com. So ekin.com would be our webpage. And we'll be happy to have some questions or inquiries. Just send us an email.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today to have this discussion about it. We like talking about technology and how it's being utilized. Appreciate you being here on the show.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. All right, so that's Akif Ekin talking about their technology and utilizing that for these smart cities and the way that that's going to be incorporated in and what our city could look like in the future. I know I need to get to a break because coming up next, we've got Caleb Dennison. Caleb Dennison's going to join us to talk about the new Ultimate Ears Boom speaker, compare that to Sonos, how it's being incorporated in, and what you can do with it. All that's coming up. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Well, hello there. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us wherever you're watching. Again, I always say it, but I really mean it. Hit that subscribe button. It's a fun way to share the show and get notified when we do go live and get to have the conversations that we get to have. We're going to have one right now. I'm Greg Nibbler here with Mr. Caleb Dennison. Hello, Caleb.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
I feel so live
You
right
are.
now.
We're so alive. We're very live here
So
on
much
this
liveness
show.
happening.
And it's so much live because we have this here in front of us that we're going to be talking about. And just the name alone makes you feel alive.
Hyper Boom.
The Hyper Boom.
Ultimate Ears, which, you know, lucky for us, happens to be headquartered right across the river in a little town called Camas.
Really? I didn't actually know
You didn't know that?
I don't know. I love their speakers, and I had no idea they're that close.
Yeah, they're right across the river. Their whole R&D facility is there. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But let's just address this gigantic elephant speaker in the room.
Yes.
The Hyper Boom. You may be familiar with Ultimate Ear speakers. You know, this is the Boom
Yep.
Series 3.
We had a
They-
Boom 3 in here the other day.
Yeah, they've got an Ultra Boom, which is a bigger, you know, and they're all these canister cylindrical style speakers with, you know, gigantic volume buttons on the side. but
Waterproof.
Waterproof. They're just adventure speakers, right?
Yeah.
You can take them anywhere you want to, out by the pool, to the beach. You don't have to worry about sand getting in them, you know, because it can't. And they're fantastic in terms of sound quality. They're pretty much what everybody's looking for, you know, big, boisterous, you know, action-packed sound, I guess you would say. You know, battery built inside, take it wherever you want to go.
For sure.
The reason that Ultimate Ears, or UE, created the Hyper Boom was because they were hearing from their customers that even when they paired two of their bigger, you know, cylindrical speakers, they weren't enough to, like, rock a party, right?
Yeah.
So they created the ultimate party speaker, and that's where this guy comes in. You know, obviously this is a big guy. It's 13 pounds, and it's got 2 woofers, 2 tweeters, and 2 passive radiators. Those passive radiators, by the way, which help enhance the bass because they move air along with the active woofers that are inside. Those passive radiators are almost as big as this speaker right here.
Wow.
So it moves a lot of air. That means a lot of bass. It'll really thump. It'll fill up a room properly, and it's meant to be the ultimate party speaker. There's actually a lot of tech going on inside. It's really hard to see because it's just a little dimple on the top, but it's got a microphone on the top, and what it does is it reads the room and figures out what the acoustic situation is in there, and then tailors the EQ so that it sounds great in that room.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing.
It does a very good job at that. And then also, you know, when it goes outside, it knows it's outside. So it knows it needs to pump up the bass. It needs to pump up the treble a little bit so that it can sound active with no walls for things to refract of. It can kind of sound empty. So it does a great job sounding awesome outside. It is splash proof. So, I mean, if it's by the pool, you're okay.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want it to fall in.
Right.
That would be a problem. This
get it
guy
done.
could fall in and you'd be all right. This guy, don't let it fall in the pool.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
You know, obviously it's got a big battery. It lasts a very long time. You're probably going to get almost, I think it was almost like 22 or 24 hours out of it before you're going
Wow.
to have to charge. Look, you can run it all day and you're not going to have to worry about it. So it's meant to be the life of the party. It does have a little carrying handle on the side, which is good because it's a heavy stick
how
and
heavy is
speaker.
that thing?
About 13 pounds.
Okay.
But in addition to being Bluetooth, you know, that's the main way it works. It's also got some other connections on the back, which we've been showing on the screen here for a little bit. But it's got 2 optical ports. You could connect this to your TV if you wanted to.
Cool.
And
So it's very
get
utilitarian.
digital sound that way. It's got an analog input, so if you've got an older device you want to plug in, you could do that. You could technically connect a turntable to this if you wanted to. Obviously, its size is a little bit imposing, so you need to find the right place in your home for it. But bottom line, ultimate party speaker. That's what they were going for. They wanted the huge sound that you would get from a really big system, but make it portable so that you could take it other places.
I love that idea. I mean, actually, at home, that's what I use. Not, I don't have an Ultimate Ears one. I've got an Ion Tailgater. It's a couple years old, but it's really, I mean, it's a little heavy.
Yeah.
It's that same thing. It's Bluetooth outside. I bring it camping.
Exactly.
You know, it can beat it up and it's fine. But something like this, you know, it sounds like a very much an upgraded version of something like
Yeah,
that.
Ultimate Ears says it's meant to be home-based and home adjacent.
Home, okay, so
you
not
keep it,
camping,
you keep it around the house. Yeah, you could, but like,
Right.
I mean, if you're hardcore, car camping or glamping or whatever,
Yeah.
and you really wanted
I'm
to
a
piss
glamper.
off all the other campers, this would piss them off very well. You could practically beat the trout out of the river with the base that comes from
what I
this
like to
thing.
do.
Yes, that's your preferred fishing method, is it,
That's
Greg?
how I prefer it. Yeah, it's not a grenade. All right, so something I had to ask about.
Sure.
Too was that the Bluetooth side is that it's a dual device Bluetooth.
Yeah, so you can connect 2 different Bluetooth devices to
Okay.
this, and you could go back and forth between those if wanted to share DJ responsibilities with
Yeah.
somebody else, or if you're running maybe a stream off of your laptop, but you want to break in with your cell phone because you're talking to your friends. You're like, oh, dude, you got to hear the song. You
Right.
can pull that right up, and it'll break in and take over. So
an
yeah,
air horn
you
every
can.
now and then.
Yeah, a couple of different devices can connect to it. I will say one of the drawbacks, since it's supposed to be a home-based speaker, is that it doesn't support Wi-Fi. That seemed like a weird omission
That does
for
seem
me
weird.
because when you're using Bluetooth, if you're using your phone as the primary device and you're having your party and somebody calls you, your phone call is going to come through the speaker, right? And it
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
interrupts the party. The great thing about Sonos speakers, and we have a Sonos One here, there's actually, my buddy Nick Woodard is actually stuck in traffic right now. He's got the Sonos Move, which is their portable Sonos speaker, and probably the closest, competition to the Hyperboom. The Sonos Move is, also Wi-Fi, battery-powered Wi-Fi, as well as Bluetooth, and so it's a little bit more versatile in that way. Also sounds a little bit more refined. Like the very picky audiophile will enjoy the sound of the Sonos speaker. But I gotta say, this guy right here, the Hyperboom, is really, it's a bombastic, big, fun, in-your-face speaker that has great sound. I mean, there's nothing trashy about it at all. And I think that's unfortunately what you do find with a lot of speakers that attempt to get loud and put out a lot of bass, is that they just, what I'm talking about.
It's muddled. It's
It's just
gravelly and yeah.
Exactly. It distorts a little bit, and it tries too hard, and it's harsh, and it's just not pleasing to the ear. You don't have to be an audiophile to know, you know what? Really don't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
And I think this guy sounds great. I only got a chance to listen to it for about 6 minutes myself, but that's all I needed. I knew, first of all,
knew it
it
was
was
gonna be-
characteristic, ultimate ears. These things are, they stick them in an anechoic chamber. Don't know if you're familiar with that,
Yes.
but
Uh-huh.
they are these weird rooms where sound goes to die. Like no
Yeah.
sound gets in,
It'll,
no
like,
sound
drive you
goes
insane
out.
if you stay in there too long.
Yeah, it's very eerie, kind of messes with your equilibrium. But they test them rigorously, not just for acoustics, but also for toughness. These things are made of the best materials, and they're made to sound great. And that's what this guy right here does very successfully.
Very cool. And so we've got the review up of this.
That's right. Yep, the review
yep.
is live on Digital Trends right now. You can read all about it and how it compares to the competition. There isn't a lot of competition for this guy out there. It's a little on the pricey side, $400.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you're looking at for something like a Sonos Move or another competing large format speaker.
Well, this one could solve all of your needs then.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Ear, or most of them, minus the Wi-Fi part. But that's the Ultimate Ears Hyperboom. So, Caleb, thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Coming in here,
You bet.
and Nick Woodard will make his debut another day. He'll be here another day. But we've got more coming up. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back, and we've got real news with Riley Wynn and Aaron Keeney. We're going to talk about what is at the box office this weekend. So you're going to be watching that. Then we've got more news and some more interviews. This show has a long way left, so stick around with us. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Hi, I'm Erin Keeney.
And I'm Riley Wynn.
And this is Real News, the show that helps you decide what movies deserve your money at the box office this weekend. Well, first up, we have The Invisible Man. And this is a classic sci-fi story that's reappearing on the big screen this weekend.
Yeah, The Invisible Man follows a woman whose abusive ex-husband takes his own life and leaves her his fortune. But she suspects his death is a hoax and is convinced her supposedly dead former husband is haunting her. She endures a nightmare of coincidences that turn lethal and fights to prove that, she's being haunted by someone that nobody can see. We have Emmy Award-winning Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale. She stars as the main character, Cecilia.
I am so glad they got her for this. I mean, Elizabeth Moss is probably one of the most in-demand actors right now, and I think she's really perfected that strong woman caught in a nightmare situation role. So we know she's going to fight back, which is going to be exciting. Well, this original story is from author and father of science fiction H.G. Wells, and it was first published all the way back in 1897. So here we are, 2020. This new film version has Australian filmmaker Lee Wannell at the helm. He also wrote the screenplay, and you might know his work from the Saw franchise, another scary one. But he says, his version is a little bit more unique. Over the years, we've seen so many different versions on television and on film. But he says his film focuses more on the woman at the center of it all instead of from the view of the protagonist, which past films and iterations has done. And as I'm talking about this and thinking about all the different versions, I'm thinking of Kevin Bacon in Hollow Man in 2000. Did you ever see that movie?
Yes, I saw that movie way too young. I was like 7 or 8 years old. I remember watching it with my older brothers, and it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And then when I was watching the trailer for this one, it scared the crap out of me too. I was jumping left and right. But I actually am going to go see this, I think, because of Elizabeth Moss. She's really good at those revengeful and fight back characters. So I'll go, but I might spill some popcorn on the people sitting next to me and so on.
Yeah, well, this seems to be more of like a relationship kind of thriller than a straight horror, so you might be good there. Well, The Invisible Man appears in theaters February 28th. And next up, the beloved story of Peter Pan is totally reimagined in this new film. Wendy hits theaters this week.
The film follows Wendy, as you could guess, who we remember from the classic story of Peter Pan. She goes on adventures with the Lost Boys and Captain Hook. But this take is a little bit different. We follow young Wendy and her brothers. They take a train to a mysterious island where aging and time have come unglued.
Yeah,
lucky,
the children.
Lucky them.
I know. Well, the children are just running around, and they're playing, though, under the guidance of a mythical underwater creature that they call Mother. And they're forced to fight to protect her and keep their youth. And as long as they keep their imagination and their hope alive, they will never grow old.
That's a similar theme to the Robin Williams version called Hook from the 90s, so I love that they're bringing that back. The film stars Devin France as Wendy, and then we also have Joshua Mack as Peter, and we have a whole cast of new and fresh faces that we haven't seen in Hollywood yet.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. This film first premiered at Sundance, and it's from director Ben Zeitlin, who also co-wrote the screenplay with his sister, Eliza.
I can't even hang out with my siblings for more than 10 minutes, so making a movie would be tough.
Well, and apparently, too, they worked on this film. This is like 7 years in the making, so they worked on this for a very long time. You might know Ben Zeitlin. He is best known probably for his Oscar-nominated and award-winning film Beasts of the Southern Wild. That was back in 2012. You remember that one? And he says that Wendy shares the same kind of special magic as Beasts in that there are these young kids, like you said, these fresh faces, just kind of untamed and, just wandering around uncharted territory on this fantasy land. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see that.
I'm really excited to see this movie because I mentioned Hook, right? Robin Williams. I love that movie. It was one of my favorites when I was younger. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I also love how Hollywood takes these old fairy tales or these old stories that we all know and kind of gives them backstories or side stories, because I always wonder what happened after Wendy and her brothers returned back to reality, what happened to Peter Pan before Wendy, all this different stuff. So I'm looking forward to that.
So Riley, I have expressed my love of film scores. I'm a big film scores nerd, so I always go looking for them. This one is so beautiful. And a fun fact, director Ben Zeitlin actually composed the film score in his spare time, from directing and writing.
Man of many talents.
Many, many talents. He composed the score with Dan Romer, and it's just unbelievable. You can listen to the music and see Wendy on the big screen February 28th. And finally, we're talking about a shy gamer who finds himself in the fight for his life. We're talking about Guns Akimbo.
Yeah, so this movie is set in the not-so-distant future where we follow Miles. He's a kind of nerdy, bland video game developer who wakes up one day with guns bolted to his hands. Then he's also forced to fight in this popular online fight club. While Miles is really good about running away from everything in this real-life deathmatch, it doesn't help him outlast this killer at the top of her game, Nyx. The film stars Daniel Radcliffe. We've seen him before. He's Miles. And then we also have Samara Weaving as Nyx.
This is the second feature film from New Zealand writer and director Jason Lee Howden, and he's had a prolific career as a visual effects artist on films like War of the Planet of the Apes and a little film called Avengers.
Oh, is that an indie film?
I think so, yeah. I
Okay.
think a low-budget thing.
I'll have to look it up.
What I'm really excited about is seeing Daniel Radcliffe in this role, and I'll say he's just done such an excellent job of shedding his wizard robe, right, in the roles that he takes. And since, it's been about a decade since he graduated from Hogwarts, and he's made some really smart and really bold decisions with his career, taking some great risks, doing drama and Broadway and comedy roles. So yeah, it's like you don't even remember really that he's Harry Potter. I think he's excelled at that. And I would say, Daniel Radcliffe, if you ever retire from acting, we hope you never do, but maybe he could be a teacher, for young actors as how to not be typecast.
Yeah, let them know you're not just a wizard, Harry. You're so much more. The way I like to describe this movie after watching the trailer is it's like The Hunger Games meets Deadpool. Yeah. You are fighting to the death, and it's going to have these violent scenes, but it's going to be lightened up by these, comedic efforts, some comedic timing and things like that. And so it's just going to be, I think it's going to be a fun film. And then the last question, Erin, I have is, can you imagine having guns bolted to your hands?
No.
Can't get anything done. Like, I really hope this movie has a scene where he has to go to the bathroom, and because that'll just be pure comedy. Like, he'll fall on the floor or something like that. So it looks like it's gonna be fun.
I'm sure there's going to be a scene like that. I would have a problem not being able to brush my teeth. That would drive me insane with guns attached to my hands. And Guns Akimbo storms into theaters February 28th.
If you're going to see one movie this weekend, make it The Invisible Man. You can get your tickets at Fandango.
Thanks for watching Real News. We'll see you right here next week.
Hello, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a lot coming up. We're going to be having an interview with Buck Jordan from Miso Robotics coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking about robots in fast food. I got so excited I got tongue-tied there. Let's do this, though. Let's talk about some news right now because I've got a variety of it, but I want to bring you up to date on some things. So this first one is actually a really cool use of augmented reality. We've got an article up at Digital Trends right now and an interview with this company, but it's about utilizing AR for firefighting, right? We talk about different ways that AI or AR or VR or different kinds of technologies can be utilized actually in tangible situations other than just gaming or things like that. This is a good use of AR that can maybe even save some lives. So here's how it works. We know that firefighters, well, in case you don't know, firefighters have been able to use thermal imaging technology for quite some time. They've got different ways they can bring that in, but they have to use their hands for it. They have to actually hold something up and try to scan a room. This is a whole other level of that. And this is using augmented reality with this eyepiece. And the way it works is it integrates into their mask. And this, it's called Quake Technologies. Actually, that's the name of the company that actually founded this. And when they go into a room, this augmented reality feature kicks in and scans the room. We might have some video kind of showcasing that of when they go in and what it looks like when they're seeing something. So there we go. There's an example. Imagine you go into a burning building. One of the big things about that is it's very hard to see what's going on. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of heat. Very difficult. When they get in there, this actually kicks in and will scan that room and outline images in green, overlaying this over their actual what they're actually seeing and giving them an idea of where corners are, where another person is, what kind of dangers could be in there. Maybe there's debris, and brings that to the forefront, seeing through the smoke. It essentially gives them X-ray vision, and if you really want to look at it that way, and allows them to know what they're going to be encountering when they walk into something like this. And that's such a huge issue. I mean, there's an example. So imagine that's a room filled with smoke. You wouldn't visually, well, when you were seeing that, you wouldn't visually actually be able to see anything, but everything is actually outlined in green so they know where they're going. That's huge. That's a fantastic use of augmented reality. It's combining a bunch of different technologies, that thermal imaging, it's combining AR, it's combining the actual physical side of the thing into the mask, but really, really cool use. And this company is wanting to get this out to a lot of different places. It actually started off with tech that was used for something completely different. They're integrating it into this and trying to make it so something that this can help out a firefighter in this situation and maybe even save lives. There's some pretty shocking statistics about in some of their videos just talking about how many people actually do perish in fires just in the United States alone. And they're saying with this, they would be able to more rapidly get somewhere. It'd be safer for the firefighter and hopefully, ideally, save more people using this technology. So pretty cool. I'm excited about it. There's a very in-depth, there's a great example right there too of kind of outlining something through the smoke. But you can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. Really cool use of augmented reality. We've got more for you though coming up right now. All right, let's talk about this. Had to check myself. There's so much to talk about. I got a little excited there. I just wanted to make sure that I had it. So here's what we're talking about. Space is something that we cover a lot here, space technology, and the different issues that are associated with space junk and debris, right? You have all these satellites up there, and sometimes they stop working. This is going to be a huge issue. There are thousands up there right now, and there are thousands more that are going to be going up. And one of the big price issues with that, too, is sending a satellite up into space. Once it's there, it's fine, but they run out of energy, or they get old, or they're not being able to be utilized. And if they die up there, then they're just floating around forever. They don't go anywhere. Well, now, for the first time in history, two different private satellites were able to meet up together, and one repaired the other one and gave it a brand new life. This is a big, big deal. And so these companies, it was Northrop Grumman and Intelsat. So two companies with satellites up there. One of their satellites was actually dying. So this one was one that was it was a telecommunications satellite, and it wasn't going to be working much longer, and it was running out of energy. It needed some repairs, needed some updates they weren't able to do. Well, with this new thing that they were able to do, and then this all took place about 180 miles above geosynchronous orbit. So this is about 90 times further out than the International Space Station. So that's even more impressive, just how far out they were. They were able to meet up. One docked with the other one. It was able to perform checkouts. It was able to do some upgrades on it, able to do some different things to actually bring it back up to speed. And they said that because of this, it's going to deliver more than 15 years of life extension services for these kinds of things. So that's big. That's big. And this is something that if we can do this more and more with all these satellites that are up there and give more life, it means we have to send less up there. It means we don't have to worry as much about the space junk, at least utilize the stuff that is up there. And that also, in turn, looking at it from the consumer side, could bring prices down. So that's a big issue right there. But that's a pretty cool meetup. That is something that happened, and you can take a look at that more at digitaltrends.com. All right, final thing that we're going to bring up here, and then we're going to get to a break and get our interview on. This is just talking about robotics, and we do love to discuss robotics on here, but soft robotics is a big, big facet of that, and that's something that a lot of different companies are working on, and that's the idea that a robot, if you think about it grabbing something, it can't just crush everything that it's grabbing. It's got to have some dexterity to it and understand what it's doing. This is an experiment that actually went on utilizing what's called a soft robot and using this hand to grab a jellyfish. So a jellyfish, you think about, okay, why do we want to grab a jellyfish? Well, it's a very delicate animal, and you have to have very dexterous hands. Well, this was able to do this and wrap around this jellyfish, causing no harm, essentially, with these kind of noodle fingers that it's got, robot noodle fingers. I'm just coining that term right now. And that's what we're looking at. So it's just kind of an interesting use. This comes from actually somebody from the American Museum of Natural History, talking about different ways that they want to utilize this to study deep sea animals and just nature in general, getting places where humans can't go, to where they would be able to grab onto something, not hurt it, and hold on, do some studies, and then let it go with their noodle fingers. So there we go. That's what we're looking at right there. Read more about it at digitaltrends.com. And I know that I need, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So you could follow up with that at digitaltrends.com. And here's the thing, we need to get to a break because we're gonna talk about some more robotics, including robots in the workplace, like restaurants, fast food. And to do that, we have Buck Jordan from Miso Robotics who's gonna be joining us next. So stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. And if you watch this show regularly, you know that I like to talk about robotics. But we all do, right? We want to know how robots are being incorporated into our lives and the different facets of that, including in the workspace. We're going to discuss that and more right now. To do so, from Miso Robotics, we have Buck Jordan joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me.
I want to really get in and dig into what we're going to be discussing with what some of your projects are. But before we do that, to give everybody just kind of an understanding, Miso Robotics, what kind of robotics does Miso Robotics work on, and kind of give us an idea of the company itself?
Sure. So Miso Robotics is hyper-focused on quick-serve restaurant market. We take industrial robotic arms and make them work collaboratively with humans in the kitchen. I think this industry is under massive amount of strain, and so we're just trying to keep up with the demand here. And our system's very adaptable to almost any environment.
So talking about just restaurant and fast food in general, now you mentioned that the industry's under a lot of demand and a lot of stresses. Can you just give everybody a little bit of that context?
Yeah, I mean, so most of our customers are not concerned about their pretty dicey unit economics. They're really more concerned about just staying open. I would say most of them go most shifts or many shifts, at least with one person out. So they're operating at short shifts. They're operating, and it's bad now. It's getting worse tomorrow. So over the next 10 years, there's a decrease in supply of labor for the space, by about 1.3 million people. At the same time, because of delivery and also all this other explosions happening in food, there's a 1.6 million increase in the demand for labor. So we're already in trouble now. Moving forward, it's going to get even worse. So there's no way to bridge that gap other than robotics. And you factor that along with the problem of $15 an hour wage and increasing costs for food, real estate, and everything. It's pretty tough to survive.
Yeah, that's a big difference. I mean, the restaurant industry is tough anyway to survive in for anybody, no matter what side of it you're on. So that's definitely a huge issue if there's that big of a gap between demand and supply. So with your robotics company, let's get into talking about what it is you can do to help alleviate some of that. When we're talking about robots in the workspace, like maybe we could talk about what you started off with and work our way to where you're at right now.
Yeah, sure. So we started out at the end of 2016. With a simple concept that we can take a robot arm and make it flip a burger. Ended up being a lot harder than you think. So we started with a burger joint on our, as a co-founder to build this product from scratch. So we started trying to flip a burger, and we quickly realized that there are other problems all across the space, like deep frying fries. Think of the worst job ever you could ever imagine, and it's probably standing in front of a vat of boiling oil for an entire shift.
I've done it. It's not fun.
Yeah, me too.
So looking at these problems, looking at different ways that the robots could actually handle some of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it really takes a tight integration with the customers in order to figure out the problems. We've got probably the best automation food focused automation company in the world. The talent we have is outstanding, but you really need to know how you need to pair that with in-depth market knowledge of the customer.
And that's one of the things, because there's so many different factors that go into that when you're out there you don't think about, that people maybe just don't bring into, if they get into consideration when they're ordering their fast food, things that a lot of times, it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of managing your environment in order to get something right. And so that's a complex thing to figure out. Even just a robot arm flipping a burger, that's a very complex issue. So you started off, you worked on this for forever trying to figure out this all out, but you got to that point. So you got to where you could have an arm that could flip a burger. So
yeah, it's right behind me.
Do we get to see a demonstration at some point?
Maybe.
Okay. I threw that. That was a curveball I just threw at you. So it's okay if that doesn't happen. I just got excited to see it. So you go from there, and how do you start utilizing this in the workspace? What happens after you get this robot arm that can flip a burger?
Yeah, well, so it's more than just automating a task. It's also bringing an entire AI and brain to the kitchen. So.
Uh-oh, the robots are taking over right now. Okay, so just real quick for everybody who's watching live, we just lost our feed there. It's probably because I asked the robots to do something, and so that's what happened. We'll see if we can get Buck back on. But again, it's talking about robotics just in the workforce, and it's just such a fascinating thing. And going through, just back through a couple of things that he brought up, is thinking about how complex something is. In theory, you may think, okay, yeah, it's boom, that. You could teach a robot to do that. You could program a robot to do that. But in reality, if you've ever, we've all cooked food before. We know there's so many different factors in understanding your environment, especially multiple ones, like something like that, managing that spatial awareness, managing, how long something should be on there, how long something has been on there, that we do visually just naturally when you're cooking something, but for to program something to do that is a whole other issue. I think another big thing they brought up too is just that labor shortage of just how many less people are going to be in there, but how much more we're all ordering food. Think of with Uber Eats and things like that. It's not just going into the restaurant. There's a big demand for food delivery, and that's just a fact of life. And if there's less people to do it, well, this is a way that can actually increase that, and also for restaurants themselves to be able to fund themselves and to make, to last. If you know anybody who's ever been in the restaurant industry, even fast food, it's very difficult to stay around. So that's something else that's pretty incredible that they're working on. Talking about that, I think we're going to be going into discussing some of the other things as well. that they're going to be doing with these robotics and different ways that it can help out. But I think this is one example as well, just looking at the industry as a whole. You know, when there are labor shortages, what are these other ways that this can do this and work in conjunction with humans, as we're seeing right here in this video, where, you know, it's something, I mean, she's happy because she didn't have to dip it into the fryer. I can tell you that is not fun having to do that. So that's just showcasing some of that, and we'll see if we can get Buck back on another time to talk about this as well. But definitely interesting use of robotics. So there we go right there. So that is, again, Miso Robotics talking about what they've got. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here today as well. So we've got a lot of tech that we've covered. Apologies to Buck or whatever happened there, internet, who knows. But we will get him on another time. But thank you everybody for joining us here for Digital Trends Live. And I get excited because these are fun conversations that we get to have in association with technology and different aspects of it. Today we covered AI, we covered robotics, we've covered all kinds of different things, and it's really, really exciting to do. So a little preview of tomorrow here on the show. We've actually got a lot lined up for you. We're going to have Corey Gaskin, who's going to be joining us, and he's going to be talking about mobile tech and some of the different things and trends that are going on with there. We're going to have tech briefs with Flipboard, so Ken Young will be joining us, and Ken's going to be here on the show. As always, we'll bring you up to date with everything that's happened in the week in tech in about 10 minutes-ish. And also another segment of TBD with Adrian Warner and Jess Sherbaugh, who will be here to talk about, I don't know. I never know what they're going to talk about. That's why it's TBD, but that's going to be fun tomorrow, and maybe we'll have a drink for it too. So all of that's going to be happening then, and thank you to everybody who joins us here every single day. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you like to watch on. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Digital Trends Live.